concrete before we start to make it as sweet as possible, as simple as that. Okay. Now I want you to get your cell phones out, including you, Professor, if you may. And I want you to write main terms you remember of postcolonialism. Open it, scan this QR code, and you will get online to the website using your mobile phones, and write me words. The words will pop up on the screen. Be my guest.
I don't have my phones out.
You don't have my, okay, okay.
Can only one person do it? You don't help that person to
Okay. Because every person have 3 words limit. So this is a website, by the way. It's really cool. We use it on NGOs training and so on. We use it to have expectations in the first, or to make summaries about what we have learned.
Mentor.com, right?
Exactly, yes. So whenever someone puts a word, it will be there. When the word is repeated, it will be big in the center. So I wanted to do an attempt, so I wrote the word fun. So if another person writes fun, it will get bigger. Another word will be next to it, and so on. Exactly, in postcolonialism. Yeah, when we say the word postcolonialism, what is the word that pops up in your mind? Especially that in my presentation right now, I will do my best to have a look on the main terms that are mentioned in postcolonialism, and especially in postcolonialism, or from a postcolonial literary perspective. Especially that the last chapter that I will be illustrating, inshallah, is a summary and an overlook of the whole book and the concepts mentioned in the book. So, The Empire Writes Back talks about different aspects of literary post-colonialism. We are trying to have an overview of them in a short, precise presentation. So, those are 3 more words: appropriation, identity, rogation, including fun that I've mentioned already. Those are good. Let's see if I have included them in my presentation or not, and try to illustrate them as much as possible. Okay, so let's go to the presentation. About main key terms in post-colonial theory, as I've mentioned, when I looked to the last chapter, I thought, okay, if it summarizes and overviews everything that we have discussed, let's go to specific terms in post-colonialism and rediscuss them again, analyze them as much as possible in a short, concise presentation to make them go deep in our minds. Okay, the first thing that we are going to discuss is colonialism itself. About the key terms, acquiring and maintaining political control over another country is called colonialism, as simple as that. It also refers to occupying the country with settlers, as specific cases that we have discussed, including Canada and Australia and so on. It also talks about exploiting the country's resources and establishing and maintaining colonies. When you look to such definitions of colonialism itself, you will see that different perspectives of the word colonialism is connected to different cases from different countries. Colonialist powers and colonies of them are represented in different ways concerning different cases. So if you look to colonialism, you will see that there are different shapes of it, depending on different countries and different invaders concerning those countries. So this is colonialism. When you talk about colonialism, you will think about the idea and the concept of post-colonialism itself. I see post-colonialism as a representation of an attempt of decolonizing as much as possible the previously colonized countries or the currently colonized countries, especially that in colonialism we talk about currently colonized and previously colonized. So this leads us to decolonization, which is simply, in 4 words, the process of undoing colonialism. Trying to do as much as possible that we can do to undo the colonial process. Colonized country regains its independence and sovereignty through decolonization, and it involves political, economical, and social changes. I see literary post-colonialism studies as a form of social changes that this specific branch wants to do through studying the literary works of colonialism and post-colonialism. So decolonization is the process of undoing colonialism. And now, the famous word of Orientalism. It's heavily connected to whom? To Edward Said, which we are going to discuss in details in our future presentation, inshallah. Orientalism, in a definition, is a term coined by Edward Said himself in his book titled Orientalism in the 70s of the previous century. And it describes the way the West, capitalized W, receives and represents the East. It involves stereotypes and assumptions, and it studies the representation of the Orient itself. Edward Said was a person, we will talk shortly here and we will talk in details in our presentation, is a person from Palestine who traveled to the USA to complete his studies and do his PhD and teach there. When he went there, he saw lots of stereotypes imaged about the Orient, which is the place that he grew up in. So he tried to study that. He came up to certain conclusions concerning the post-colonial case of West, how it looks to the Orient or the East, and he published his revolutionary book of Orientalism, which many people consider one of the mother or father books of post-colonialism itself. So Orientalism, yes. So Orientalism is a very interesting topic, and I remember the first time that I met this term was in Arabic. In Arabic, Orientalism is al-istishraq. Al-istishraq, which means exactly, precisely, going to the East. So al-istishraq is a topic that I discussed with a number of friends of mine when a TikTok trend popped out. How is post-colonialism and Edward Said connected to TikTok anyhow? I will tell you. There was a certain trend called Arabian Nights. In this trend, Arabian Nights.
But there's also a story about that. You know that?
I will give you my story and it could be the same one. Because Arabian Nights is the title of a song, which is a book. Arabian Nights. Cool. Maybe the song was titled upon the book because the song is in Disney. Aladdin. We all know Aladdin and Jasmine. The first song that you will see when watching this cartoon is the song of Arabian Nights, Arabian Days. It goes like that. So in this trend, boys and girls from the Arabic world or from Arabic origins puts this song in the background, and they first shot a scene where they look distorted, they have vagueness in their faces, they look, between two brackets, ugly. And then when the climax of the song comes, they transform to the beauty of the Arabic people. That kind of beauty was a pure Orientalist beauty. Not the beauty as it is in the nature of the Arabic world, but the beauty from the perception of the West itself. So the women in Arabian Nights transform to a kind of beautiful black-eyed women with kahl, I don't know what it is in English, black-eyed from beneath, and Smoky, yes, smoky eyes, and the dress itself, it looks like a belly dancer with the dress and so on. Yes. The issue here is with this perception, this is not the true case of the Arabic world as much as it's the West perception of it. And with the guys, you will see them putting the scarf on their heads, and also with smoky eyes and dusty faces and so on, with that beautiful scene of Aladdin-like Arabian guy. So Arabian people didn't know that this was a perception of the West of them. They saw it as a kind of beauty, while this was a kind of colonial perspective towards the Orient itself. So this is what Edward Said studied, and this is why I went to YouTube and saw a number of his talks and interviews talking about Orientalism, because I did a story on Instagram telling boys, stop it. This is a kind of I did a decolonization process of telling people that this is a kind of representation of being colonized, at least culturally. So this is Orientalism.
There is
And
an opposite idea, right? How East perceives West. Occidentalism, is that what they call it?
yes, that's another term Edward Said himself talked about in Orientalism, and it's the opposite perspective. But it doesn't have the same effects, because as Ibn Khaldun, one of the inventors of social sciences, spoke in the beginning of his mother book, he said that the oppressed is always feeling need to copy the colonizer. So we in the Orient try as much as possible to look like them, to be like them, but they don't have to do that. So that's why Orientalism is the title. So that's another term, subaltern. It refers to individuals or groups who are socially, politically, and economically marginalized, often as a result of colonization. It involves the study of the perspectives and experience of marginalized groups. So when we have colonization, sometimes we have ethnic groups, cultural groups, groups from origins that are different from the overall colonized people. So those subaltern groups are the ones that we are talking about here, and they are much likely more affected by the colonization process. Their culture is already on the merged, because it's marginalized culture. When colonization comes, it gets affected heavily. So we refer to them when studying post-colonial literature by subaltern groups and sometimes individuals. This is one of the main terms here. Fatma, if you may, can you read it? Do you see it clearly? You don't see it clearly. Okay, read it.
Speaks of different cultures, identities, and practices, result of colonization and power dynamics, study of blending and transformation of cultural identities.
Exactly. That's hybridity.
Okay, hybridity, I have one question.
Okay.
Do you yourself consider this term as a kind of positive attribution to postcolonialism, or it has some negative connotations?
I think it's a mixture of both, because when we want to study it, we will try as much as possible to be neutral. If we want to be neutral, we will have the positive and the negative impact. I think it's positive hybridity. Yes, it's very positive, because it talks about the mixing of cultures. So I think one of the good things that happened, for example, in North Africa, when they were colonized by France, right now, if you meet someone from Algeria, for example, from the south of Algeria, you will see that he was born with 3 languages, Arabic and Berber and French, because of the colonization itself.
And I think it represents the refusal of the
Yes, there are different choices, and sometimes people from the same family, the same context, and the same circumstances, one of them chooses that he prefers Arabic, and he goes more Arabic. Another one, because he sees French language as a kind of representation of the colonization. Another one sees that he's really interested in France and he wants to go there and so on, so he focuses more on his French language and he go more French. So yeah, you will have the choice here. So hybridity is one of the good consequences of colonialization, because it's a result of colonization and power dynamics, and it's blending and transformation of cultural identities. So you will see cultural clashes. Those clashes will result in hybridity in different cultures and different aspects. That's one of the most important terms, I think, which is othering, which is the process of portraying or treating someone or group as a fundamentally different or alien.
I'm really sorry for the interruption. This word is really, really important because you will
Yes.
be able to find this one also in feminism. In feminism, you will
Yes.
in diaspora that we will study together, you will find it.
Yes.
In Marxism, we have it. We have it in Marxism. So this othering, what is this othering? This othering, he needs to say that. Yes, please. Go ahead. What is this othering? Your perception of othering.
Okay. Othering is the process of portraying or treating someone or a group as fundamentally different or alien, as I've said. It often results, it is a result of colonization. That's why we are talking about it. And it involves the study of the construction and perpetuation of difference. So, the word other itself, linguistically, it will be one of the first words that you will see in a language, other. But othering or otherness, in the context of postcolonialism, is the process of making a person different from you. So, alienation in this perspective is the process of othering, making other. So, in this context, I think if we put two chapters of positive and negative words, it will be in the negative.
Absolutely.
Yes, because othering is making distinct, but in a negative way.
Not me.
Yes,
You say me self is myself. Not self.
exactly,
So this is the term.
exactly.
There is
The-
the norm, and if you are not like that, then you are.
Yes.
Yes, you are the abnormal.
I, as you know,
Now, we are talking about new colonialism. It represents the continuation of colonial power and influence in a different form. It's often through economic, political, or cultural means, and it's the study of ongoing events of colonialism, effects of colonialism. So, if we have colonialism and we want to be decolonized as much as possible, we have to study neo-colonialism because it studies the effects that are still ongoing in certain countries concerning cultural influences, political influences, economical influences, and you can see that clearly, especially in countries, as I've said, in North Africa, for example, the highest number of trade economically is between Algeria and France. Why France? It's not like the biggest economy in the world, but because it was the invader of that country. It's occupied it for more than 130 years. So this ongoing effect is an effect of neo-colonialism. And to wrap it all up, when we are talking about post-colonialism, we are talking about the colonization, which is the process by which a nation or state extends its control over a territory, often involving the establishment of settlements and the exploitation of resources. We are talking about decolonization. As we have said before, it's the reverse of colonialization, and post-colonialism is the academic discipline that examines the social, cultural, political, and economical effects of colonization and decolonization. and it involves the study of aftermath of colonialism. To summarize it all, the impact of colonization. In post-colonial theory, we examine the impact of colonization and marginalized groups, as we have said before, including indigenous people, people of color, and women, as we have said. And that's why it's hugely affected by feminism, and we study more than one same aspect in these two disciplines, and it explores the ways in which colonization has shaped social, political, and economic systems, and the ongoing effects of colonialism and these groups. And it's also an exploration of experiences in post-colonial literature and other forms of cultural expression have played an important role in exploring the experiences of marginalized groups, and these works often challenge a dominant narrative and offer alternative perspectives on history, identity, and power. Before we wrap it all up, I want you to look at the papers in front of you. We have 10 fun facts in an informal language about post-colonial theory. I want you to read it with me, and we will discuss each and every one with simple explanation. Exactly, criticizing Heart of Darkness. I will read the last one. Feminist Bloc Party, as we have discussed, there is a huge connection between post-colonialism and feminism. So post-colonial feminism throws a bloc party celebrating the strength and resilience of women in post-colonial societies. It's all about empowerment and breaking down oppressive structures. So there you go, post-colonial theory with a side of humor and dash of informal flair. That's why I wanted to make it as light as possible with specific terms that we want to memorize out of this, and those are representations of concepts that we have studied in post-colonial theory, reading The Empire Writes Back, and this is my presentation, and sorry for taking this time, and that's it.